Hey gang, this is Matt Sumstein. It's the 2018 HHSAA Championship Series. We made it through the first week, had a pretty good week. I only had one televised game to look at, so I reviewed it chronologically. We're going to look at some of these plays, see about some of our mechanics and where we can improve and where we did great, and hopefully make some adjustments moving forward and have a great next 2 weeks. Play number one, we're going to start with the opening kickoff of the Iolani Waipahu game. And this has a couple of things to do with the mechanics near the goal line. So the kickoff is to one side of the field. When it's to one side of the field, it's bracketed in by that wing official and the referee. So the official on the opposite side, because he does not have any goal line responsibility, can take 5 to 7 yards up the field to get a better look at the front side blocking. Once the play develops a little bit further, we have a reception, then we all go ahead and follow our prescribed duties in our zones. But they did a real nice job here. The runner is hit at the 15 and pushed back. You can see the official at the top of the screen marking at the 15 for forward progress. That's a real nice job. Play number two involves a run fade mechanic, which involves typically a side judge and a field judge. In this case, the field judge on the near side. We have a run that comes right at him. And when you have a run fade, sometimes it's a little harder to get the jump on it. In this case, you can see the field judge is a little close to the termination point of that run. We want you back about the 25-yard line, another 10 yards. Keep a wide open view of this. Don't let those players behind you, and allow your sideline line of scrimmage official to come up and get that spot. You can see from this view you're backing up a little bit, but it's a little bit too late. So when you see that runner break loose, go ahead and start that back pedal fade so you can keep a nice wide view. Play number three is a pass fade mechanic by the side judge at the top of the screen. And when these guys, the wide receivers at the top of the screen, they take off, it is sometimes hard to get a good fade jump. And you can see in this case, he knows right now he's not going to make it. So he just lets everybody pass him. What that does is it creates a block for the headlinesman who would normally have that better look, and it prevents the side judge from having his prescribed look, which would be from a deep position looking back into the play. So when you see those receivers jump off the line, you got to turn your body, keep your head on that player, get yourself the distance you need so that you can manage the mechanic. Play number four, we've got a couple of things on this punt. Number one, we have a line of scrimmage official who's taking off just as the punt is kicked. And what we want our line of scrimmage officials to do is wait until the ball is kicked so that you have an understanding of what you need to do, where your primary check down look is going to be, and if it is a kick out of bounds like in this case, then you just go down and you mark that spot without having to pass it and roll your way back. Secondarily, we have a foul for roughing the kicker. Number 32, I believe, is the punter. That is a great call. Number 2 comes in, slides into the plant leg, roughing the punter all the way, so that's going to be 15 yards and a first down for the kicking team. Play number 5 is a defensive hold called against the defender at the bottom of the screen. He was called for it fairly frequently in this game. And the mechanics for this is that the side judge, or the field judge in this case, who has primary responsibility for this, when he sees what he believes or judges as a hold, he immediately looks back at the quarterback. If the quarterback still has the ball in the pocket or is scrambling away or is in the process of throwing or being sacked, that hold stands. Whether it's a run or pass after that or not, that is a hold. If the ball is away, then we will pass on that hold because the time element would not allow that hold to impact the quarterback's choices or checkoffs as he goes through his rotation of receivers. This next play is a punt play, and it involves the bouncing ball near the pylon. So our deep officials on punts would be our side judge and field judge. In this case, the side judge. And we want you positioned behind the pylon so that if the ball goes over your head or to your right, you'll know that it's a touchback. If it goes to your left, you know that it crossed the sideline before it reached the end zone, and then you can appropriately spot the location of the ball. What we don't want you doing is going back and forth as we did in this case and not keeping a proper position right behind that pylon in line with where that ball was kicked or last bounced. Play number 7 again involves a punt. Our deep wing officials, which are side judge and field judge, you keep depth whenever there's a punt. If anybody needs to come up, it's going to be the back judge. And I know that's counter to what you're used to in your five-man mechanic, but we do not want on a short bounce like this the deep wings taking a step up like they do here, because the ball can bounce back as it does in this situation. You can see on the near side, our field judge is right about where the ball is. We want you about 10 yards back so you can watch all of the players as that things develop. And in this case, we've got a ball boy also that hands our side official a football before the play's over. So now he's killing the play with a football in his hand. So let's work on keeping our depth and letting our ball helpers know that even though they're a great asset to us, they need to wait until the play is over and we're ready to participate in bringing in another football. Play number 8 is an interception and a return. And in a 7-man mechanic, we have something called a reverse mechanic. We're starting from the 15. We have a deep interception, so this is a pretty simple reverse mechanic. When we have a deep interception, line of scrimmage officials start moving back. Don't get caught running real close to the play like we do here. It should be automatic. You see that interception, you turn around, you start backpedaling and watching your areas. In this case, we can also see that the runner is going down and the defender, or the offensive player who has the cast on his arm, sees that the player is going down and he adjusts his trajectory so that he can go down and put a punishing hit on this guy when he's on the ground, which is a personal foul. Almost targeting. He doesn't get the crown of the helmet in there. This guy is a runner, but it is definitely an unnecessary roughness foul that was correctly called by the line of scrimmage official in this case. So nice work. Play number 9 is a goal line mechanic. We're right there at the 7-yard line, so we need our line of scrimmage officials to move straight to the goal line. And our left tackle and our left guard are involved in this play, and the left guard is called for holding. There is no hold. It's an incorrect call. The left tackle is suspect, but because the running back cuts right in off of that, that is not even considered a point of attack action. It's such a slight move, and the runner is already gone. So this really should have resulted in a touchdown. So be really careful when you're in there and you're making those big calls near the goal line, that we understand point of attack and material impact on the play. And then hopefully we can come out and use a little bit more time to process these plays. We've already talked about the pylon on a punt. This is the same type of mechanic except for it's a free kick. So we have our line of scrimmage officials on the pylon, and he's located right behind it. He stays where he's supposed to. He can see which side of the pylon the ball crosses on. If it was a high bounce, it would be in relation to his head or shoulder and which side it passes on. Really nice job. Play number 11 is the mechanics for sack progress, and it all starts with the keys. In this initial formation, you can see that the far line of scrimmage official has the back. That would make him primary for sack progress, but we have a key change because of the motion. And basically what happens is the line judge and the head linesman switch keys, and now because of that motion, the line judge has that back who's involved right there at that point of attack where we have initial contact right around the 17-yard line. So our line judge in this case has to be primary for coming up and letting the referee know that the progress was at the 17 and not anywhere further back. You can see that after that play they lined us up at the 13, which is off by 4 yards. So let's do a little bit better job of identifying our initial keys, our keys after motions, and determine who has primary responsibility for the sack progress spot. Play number 12, we talked about defensive holding on a wide receiver. We've got another situation here with the same type of mechanics, and we had already talked previously about the mechanics for defensive holding on receivers in relation to what the quarterback is doing. So we can see where we have our hold up top. Once we see that, check the quarterback. He's still got the ball. We have defensive holding. Regardless of what happens on this play from this point forward, run or pass, we are still going to have a defensive hold because the quarterback still has the ball, which means it could have impacted his ability, if he had looked that way first, to go to that receiver. Play number 13 is a really tight catch at the sideline, and great job by these two officials, the line judge and the field judge in this case, to understand that that is a really tight call. You can see that I've got him highlighted here. There's some green between his toes and the sideline. Just a really tight, good call. What I want to talk about, though, is the field judge does not need to come up. We talked a little bit about the field judge coming up before. Keep your distance, keep your space. If your line judge needs help with the progress spot or where that ball was caught, you can verbally give him that, but we do want you to keep your space so that you can manage the environment, manage the players, see action surrounding the play. Play number 14, we're going to talk about Rule 943, and that's advantage gained illegally. And the NFHS book really doesn't go into detail as to how many ways this can occur. They talk about jumping on a player's back or putting your foot on a player's back to gain an advantage by propelling yourself up in the air. But you can also lever yourself up into the air by using your arm on an opponent's back or even on a teammate's back. So those are prohibited acts. And you can see that this action enables the defender to elevate over the center, the push-up of the arm, so that he can get in and actually block this scrimmage kick. In NCAA or the NFL, it's referred to as leverage. Play number 15, another defensive hold. Like I said, we've had a few in this game, so let's talk about the mechanics. We've already covered it twice on this video. So the player's up top. We identify when our hold occurs. When we identify that, we look into the backfield. The quarterback has the ball. We have a holding foul against the defense. Now, if this is a pass that goes beyond the line of scrimmage or any type of loose ball action behind the line of scrimmage, that makes it a loose ball play. It would be previous spot enforcement, as it is here. Or if it was just a run, then you can tack that on because the running play, the enforcement would be from the end of the run. Play number 16 is a punt play. And there is a fair catch signal given by the receiver that does catch this football. Now we're talking about fair catch interference, and we know that the kicking team cannot contact the receiver prior to the ball coming in or obstruct his path to the ball. But even in a stationary position such as this, they also, by our philosophy, cannot be inside that 1 yard area directly in front of the receiver as he's trying to catch the ball, because that does offer some obstacle to his focusing on and catching that ball, especially after giving a fair catch signal. So I would prefer that whether he catches this ball or not, we have fair catch interference. Play number 17, another scrimmage kick scoring opportunity. They just roll right over the center. That is a foul for roughing the center. And in this case, it's a successful kick. So the kicking team has an option under NFHS to keep the points and apply to the succeeding kickoff, or they can remove the point or points and replay the down. Play number 18 is a swing pass to the right, and there is a blindside block called against the offense coming back right about the 50 against player number 99, who I have highlighted. Well, that's actually the offensive player who hits player number 99. But I think we got fooled a little bit on this because of the forcefulness of this contact. And what the defender does is right after this instant is he turns his body, gets his arms out, and actually just forcefully shoves this player to the ground, which is exactly what we asked them to do to effectively have a legal blindside block. So keeps his helmet out of it, doesn't contact with a shoulder lead. This actually is a very forceful but legal blindside block. Play number 19, we're talking about step-down mechanics, and we covered this in our pre-tournament meeting. It's very similar to a goal line mechanic. We've got third and very short. We want our wing officials to recognize that, communicate that with each other, and step down immediately at the snap to the line to gain so that we can quickly and accurately rule as to whether this is a first down or at the very least an accurate spot of progress. In this case, we don't get down quickly. We end up looking back to see where we are, which just tells me we need to practice a little bit more about knowing where we are on the field and what kind of importance factor we're going to put on plays of this nature. Play number 20, offensive holding was called, correctly so. I believe it was called against the right guard, but the right tackle is also guilty. You can see here the right guard has a club arm, and he wraps it around the back of the defender. Anytime you wrap around the back, that is an illegal action. So that is a correct call for holding. But we also had holding on the tackle, which I think opens up a little bit to the referee. You can see in this case there's a tug back right there, allows 25 to turn that corner. Play number 21 is a pass that's intercepted. There's a long return, and there's a number of things that occur during the return. Since there are no fouls prior to the change of possession, we know that B is going to retain possession of the ball, or in this case, the defense. So we've got a couple of announcements that come up after this. I'm going to go ahead and let you listen to them, and then we're going to move on.
After the interception, personal foul, blindside block, number 44 of the defense, 15 yards, first down.
Joshua
After
Leota.
the play, personal foul, defense, number 52, 15 yards, first down.
That's on.
Based on the announcements, we know that we're going to enforce at least one live ball foul plus the dead ball foul. So it's going to be a 30-yard enforcement in this case from the spot of the live ball foul after the change of possession. But I want you to watch what goes on right here in this highlighted area. These are stand-up players and are actually becoming rapidly away from the play. And you can see that a member of the defense just grabs and throws him to the ground. That is not a hold you pass on. That's a personal foul for unnecessary roughness. Now we watch this other group that has given up on the play and celebrating, and then another player of the defense comes in, forcefully blindside block, possible targeting to the face. And this is not only a defenseless player, but he's a non-participating defenseless player, which is a little bit different because he's a sitting duck. In this case, because we have an illegal blindside block, possibly a targeting, and also what constitutes a unnecessary roughness foul, then that is a definite consideration for a disqualification. So when you see a play like that and you see somebody just take a cheap shot, and then after that his buddy jumps on top of him, so you have another foul, which in this case by rule was live but probably would be ruled dead, then you've got a whole can of worms you got to deal with. So when you see a guy taking advantage of somebody who is out of the play and defenseless, give some extra consideration to those combination fouls that include multiple personals. Play number 22, the umpire calls illegal man downfield. So what we have is a standard setup, and I believe it's the center or the right guard. He shoots out past the line of scrimmage and engages the secondary. So he gets the linebacker. So we know that he is not eligible to be downfield if we have a forward pass that crosses the line. That is illegal man downfield. He's not sure where the ball was, so he throws his flag. He consults with his fellow officials, who then determine that the ball had not crossed the line.
There is no
and
penalty
pick
for
up the
illegal
flag.
man downfield.
Very nice.
The ball was caught behind the line of scrimmage, second down.
Play number 23 is a call for illegal contact against a defenseless receiver. And this is something that Hawaii utilizes to help better protect the defenseless receivers. You are allowed to wrap tackle as forcefully as you would like. You are allowed to push, and you also are allowed some incidental contact relating to making a play on the ball. In this case, we have a forceful delivery of a shoulder to a midsection, which all of our teams have been told is not permissible to the student athletes here in Hawaii, so that is a good call.
Personal foul, hit on the defenseless receiver, number 5 of the defense, 15 yards from the end of the run, first down.
Play number 24 is another defensive hold, but we have a little bit of a mechanics switch up here. You can see the receivers up top do a quick cross, and when they do a quick cross, they basically immediately change from inside to outside, outside to inside, and so do our keys. So the side judge would then take the person who immediately moved to the outside, and the line judge would take the person who immediately moved to the inside. We did have the umpire pick up this hold by that outside receiver, and that's a great pickup. I would have also liked to have seen the side judge in on this play. Play number 25 is pretty similar to one we had seen earlier. This is an interception on the return. Near the point of termination of the run, we have a tackler come in after he can already see that the runner is going down, and he tracks that motion so that he can deliver a forceful blow with the crown of his helmet to the sternum of that player. That is targeting. That is a foul that we would have hoped we would have picked up, but did not in this case. I think we just need to focus a little bit on those guys that don't need to make the hit, but they actually track the player to the ground and lead with the helmet. Back judge was busy in this game, did a nice job. Play 26, A6, the slot receiver. on the top. It looks like that's not his key initially because we have a balanced formation, but he comes down and he gives a grab and a couple of holds and a tug, and the back judge picks that up. That is originally the line of scrimmage official, the head linesman at the top, so that should be something, because the runner is not threatened, that you are able to stay with and hopefully pick up as well. Play number 27, biggest hold in the world. Watch the right tackle. Don't really need to highlight anything. Just if you missed that one, then maybe it's time to start working baseball.
They should decline this and make it a 4th down. I think they will.
Holding. Offense number 60. That penalty's declined. 4th down.
We talked earlier about gaining an advantage illegally, otherwise known as leverage outside of the NFHS book. So watch the hand and the arm lever off of the center in order to elevate to get through the line. So anytime you can gain an advantage off of a teammate or an opponent to elevate, it is a personal foul for unfair advantage. Play 29, we're going to talk about defensive holding, and we've talked about this the whole game, but here is one instance where when the official determines that he has or judges that he has a defensive hold and he looks back at the quarterback, the ball is already gone. So even if he judges that there's a hold and his immediate look up at the quarterback shows that the ball is gone, from a timing element standpoint, that means that the quarterback did not check off of that receiver as a result of that hold, so we're going to hold off on our flag. It was a nice job of picking this up. I wish we hadn't thrown it, but good job by the crew to recognize the timing of that. And also the coach was pretty pleased with the pickup here. As you can see, he would have preferred to have that flag stay on the ground. Play number 30, last play. And this is really administrative, but if you're within one score, or the equivalent of 8 points or less, then there's still a chance to win. And in this case, the offense has a 1-point lead. The defense would likely like to get the ball back and score. So do not compress your formations. Do not tell the defense to lay up or to not rush. And make sure that we get off a clean play. Obviously, in this situation, there was not, everybody wasn't set, so we should have had a false start or an illegal shift and another play. But that was a shotgun formation, and had that ball gone over that quarterback's head, it's entirely possible the defense could have picked it up and scored. So in those one-score games, let them play the last play. I know it's never stated enough, but all of you guys give your heart and soul to continue to do this for the student athletes and for the enjoyment and for the camaraderie, and your service is greatly appreciated, and thank you. Have a great rest of your tournament.